So, hey gang, it's Jeff Salzman. Welcome to the Daily Evolver. It's Monday, October 16th. And, fresh new week. We're back in the saddle. And I just got back from my workout. And I've been wanting to share something that I stumbled on in my workout. This is going to be a little out of left field today, and more in the category of integral practice, where we practice being integral. We practice doing the things that are characteristic of integral consciousness. And I'll get to that in a second. But this thing I stumbled on is a terrific new way of doing my workout, of sort of contextualizing my workout in a way that has enabled me to access reservoirs of power that I literally didn't know I had, and instantly. I mean, if I'm doing a weight exercise, I can do 30% more weight. If I'm doing push-ups or some kind of calisthenics or something, I can do 30% more reps. And best of all, I can do it with far less struggle, which is significant for a guy like me. I'm an Enneagram 5, I'm a head type. And I hate working out, I really do. And it's just a sort of a manifestation of my relationship with actual reality, the physical world in general. It's not my home place. So, and I know that, I should try yoga and Pilates, and I've tried all of those, and I hate them all. So it's just who I am, and I don't think I'm that different from a lot of people. I mean, who loves to work out? Actually, there is one guy at the gym who apparently does. He's kind of he's a beast, and he works out like a powerhouse. And when he's done with these like squats with these big weights on his back, he'll like slam them down and say, "Pain is the feeling of weakness leaving the body." That's what he said to me one time. And I was talking to him. I guess it's a Marine slogan, and I never quite got that. But at any rate, it's changed that. I literally feel deeply satisfied by my workouts in a way. And they're anyway, I feel like I'm sounding like Tony Robbins here a little bit. I'm awakening the giant within, but I kind of am. And so I'll share it with you. I'll share the big secret. Here it is. Okay, although when I'm doing my exercises, at the Colorado Athletic Club, and I'm in this big gym with all these machines and weights and stuff and ellipticals and all these people working out. So I'm there, but I'm changing my interior world. And I'm actually apparently pretty good at that. And I'll get to that in a second. And I'm changing my experience by doing that. So here's what I'm actually talking about. Here's the actual practice. I sit down at the machine, I get settled, I take a breath, I close my eyes, and I imagine if I'm doing a chest press, I'm no longer Jeff in Boulder at a weight machine pushing the bar out in front of me. I am Jeff in my village working a pump. And that pump is pumping water for a group of about 30 children who are lined up to drink. It's not an emergency situation. It's just how we do it. And, as I'm pumping, I can feel those kids, and I can see them. I can see their faces. And they're counting on me. And they're loving this water. They're smiling and happy, and they're playing and splashing, and they're drinking, and they're filling up their bottles and all of that stuff. And it's not just me. I am part of a line of other adults in the community who are in line, and they too are waiting for me to finish my turn, and they'll sit down and they'll run the pump. So the adults are doing this for the kids. And so I'm no longer pumping iron, I'm pumping water for my people. And when I find that place, everything changes. It's astonishing to me. I'm not straining, I'm not rushing, I'm not hating it, I'm not weak. I'm not, I'm not going through the, working out is anxiety provoking for me. I have a lot of body anxieties. I feel this pain and strain, but that goes away because it's not about me anymore. It's about, I'm part of a system that's greater than I am. And I can literally feel the power of my body flowing through that pump into the water and into the bellies of these happy, smiling children. And, that's a radical difference. And again, I'm stronger too, I'm doing more. And, I don't know about you, but the mental games that I have played with working out for all these years, if I'm doing like 15 push-ups, so I'm on push-up number 3 and I'm thinking I'm a fifth of the way there. And then all of a sudden I'm a 4 and I don't know what that means, but then I get to 6 and, I'm not quite halfway, and then 7, not quite, but then 8, I'm more than halfway. And, it's this whole thing. My mind is constantly monitoring my body and my pain and, how maybe I can quit now, or I can't do this, or, and the goal is just to get through it. And the idea of enjoying it was just not in the cards. And, the best I could do would be, I control my breathing. I've had trainers and stuff who, help me with that. Be mindful of the muscles, try to move the energy down from my throat and chest, upper chest, to my center core, where I can, access more of that power. And those are all terrific practices. But, in a way, it's still all about me. And I've never been that successful. I never really, could do them that well. But when I expand, into this other situation, there's a natural intelligence that instantly comes online that optimizes my effort. And I don't have time for counting games. I'm not interested in counting games. I'm not interested in how I feel, actually. I'm interested in, monitoring my power in a way so that I can stop at an appropriate time, but I'm not even interested in how many reps I'm doing. I'm going to do it until I'm done. And it's time for the next person to sit down and do it. And that is really been amazing to me. So let me just put that in some integral context, because it really is an integral practice. And, just to get technical for a minute in terms of Ken Wilber's quadrants theory, what I'm doing is I am expanding my identity to include the lower quadrants, okay? So I'm already in the upper left quadrant, which is my own personal Jeff mind. And it is all clenched around what's happening in my Jeff body, which is the upper right, which is the pain and the strain, and I hate this, and I got this whole kvetching thing going on the upper left, and I got the pain in the upper right, and there's this whole vicious circle about just managing that or enduring that, But when I move down to the lower left, to this we space of this community of people, and I see these children and the other adults, and we're nurturing, and we have a healthy community, and this is what we do. There's that liquid we space that we talk about. That is that loosh, that space between us, that is deeply satisfying and is literally transpersonal. It's beyond your own personal. It's beyond Jeff. And I'm also expanding to the lower right, which is this system, this pump, the kids come from after school and whatever. I don't even overthink it. But there's this system going on that is very manageable, that I can relate to. And it came easily to me. I didn't try to overthink it. So I'm a bigger person. I have more online. And, in terms of the transpersonal aspects, I did an interview with Ken last week where we discussed his new book, The Future of Religion, fabulous new book. And I haven't published it yet, but I will. But he was talking about, what's next in terms of the, you know, integral spiritual line, you know, as we move through modernity and post-modernity. What's the nature of the spiritual line as we move into the integral stages and beyond? And it gets more and more a flavor of transpersonal, of being bigger than your hardened self, that there is a softening of the ego boundaries and even of the physical boundaries. You know, there's what we refer to in spiritual traditions as or at least the explanation of spiritual tradition, is the subject-object collapse, where there is, you've melded, you've merged with whatever it is that you're doing. And that is a very rich and delicious space. It's meaningful, it's fulfilling. You are accessing your genius, you're accessing your optimum power in that system because it's bigger than you. You can't get there on your own. It's the zone, basically, is what athletes talk about it, and creative people. And we've all been in the zone where we are the thing we're doing. And oh my goodness, there's nothing better than that. And the spiritual traditions, of course, seek to cultivate that. That's one of their main jobs. And they all do it in their more mystical traditions. The Christian mystics had all kinds of visualizations of, particularly of just being with Jesus, of being with him during his birth and his, in the garden, just being with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, and being there during his crucifixion and resurrection. And there's a whole, you know, the panoply of meditations around that sort of thing. And of course, Buddhism is full of it. The Mahayana, the more popular style of Buddhism, works with the sort of meditation category of exchanging self for other, Tonglen meditation, where you are breathing in the suffering of another person and breathing out relief, which expands to breathing in the suffering of the world and breathing out relief. And there's a softening and a connection that one feels with this type of meditation. And of course, Vajrayana Buddhism, which is the, you know, most advanced and latest turning of Buddhism. And there, the key practice is guru and deity visualization, where you imagine a deity or your guru in infinite detail, and you feel it, you know, down in your lower chakras, and you know, relate to this guru or deity and talk to them and feed them and have them feed you. There's all sorts of things. And eventually the idea is that you take on the qualities of that guru or deity. And you have, in so doing, broadened your repertoire of capacity of what you're able to do, and, you know, and of who you are. And it's fabulous. And, you know, it begs the question, is this really happening? Or, you know, or is this an imagination? Are you actually relieving the suffering of the world when you do Tonglen meditation? Are you really contacting deities that have an ontological status, that they're there whether you're relating to them or not, so to speak? And that's an interesting question and an advanced practice in that you sort of have to work your way into. But here's Thomas Merton talking about that. And I love how he put it. He said, and of course, Thomas Merton is a mid-20th century great mystic, Christian mystic, that he said, in simple terms, the nativity of Christ the Lord in Bethlehem is not just something that I make present by fantasy. Since he is the eternal Word of God, before whom time is entirely and simultaneously present. So I'm going to say that again. He's the eternal Word of God, before whom time is entirely and simultaneously present. So therefore, the child born in Bethlehem sees me here and now. That is to say, I am present to his mind. It follows that I could speak to him as one present not only in fantasy and imagination and visualization, but in actual reality. The spiritual contact in real time with the Lord, I'm adding that real time part, but the spiritual contact with the Lord is the real purpose of meditation. And, of course, it's the same feeling behind communion, where you see yourself as literally drinking the blood of Christ and eating the body of Christ, and that it is substantiated or something in your body. At any rate, there's no question that whether or not you're actually adding to the morphogenic groove of the world, and I think you are, in the sense that thoughts or things, even the fantasy, even the visualization itself is, being laid down in the, grooves of humanity. And that's a good thing. Now, whether or not it's dealing with the ontologically present Jesus or deities, I think we have to work our way into that. And I actually haven't, so I don't really know, but they say that it's worth the trouble. So at any rate, you could try different visualizations. I actually have two now. I was, first of all, happy that the first one that sort of arose in my consciousness when I was sort of playing with this was this idea of the village and the children and the water. I mean, a pump is sort of a natural thing when you're pumping iron. And I was happy. And it made me feel better about myself that I chose children as sort of the object of this meditation. And, because I love children and I love to support and nurture children, but they make me nervous. I can't relate to them. I remember my friend T when I was a kid, when he had little kids. One day he told me, he said, "For God's sake, Jeff, just get down on the floor and play with them. Stop trying to talk to them." But I was never good at that. I like them as adults now, but then they're having kids. Anyway, I was happy to have the kids. But here's another one that has really been really fun and fruitful for me, and really, in a way, even more, brings out a little more of this masculine power. And that is, last week I did the review of the movie Dunkirk, where there's this great rescue where hundreds of thousands of soldiers are rescued off the beach by these small boats who travel across the English Channel to rescue them as they're surrounded by the Germans. And so what I imagine is that I am, again, not pumping iron at the Colorado Athletic Club, but I am in the hold of one of these ships. And I am pushing or pulling or pumping, I'm, pedaling some contraption that is helping us make our way to the soldiers on the beach who need saving. And there's a line of soldiers next to me who are ready to take their place, and there's a whole thing going on. And it's so delicious. I mean, it's funny that kind of an anxiety situation heals my anxiety of working out. I mean, it's gone. I mean, I am there. I am where I need to be. I am doing what I need to be doing. I'm doing it for them. Every pump, I am feeling it, that every pump is taking me one foot closer, taking the ship one step closer to saving these men. And, it's a wonderful thing. I mean, I end my workouts, and I don't always remember to do this. This is a practice. It's not about getting it perfect. It's about being faithful to the practice. And, this morning I did it. It was, remarkable again. And so, I end these workouts with, not just having worked out my body, but it actually having done a spiritual practice. And I do feel more connected. And I do feel a little less solid, a little less, a subject working in this world of objects, and I have to protect myself, and I have hard boundaries. And, that is, the fruit of that is that by imagining myself being part of a healthy, functioning community that's doing meaningful work, and being a decent, helpful part of that, enables me to do my work with more humility and more of a heart of service, and also a strength and confidence. Again, it all becomes appropriate. It's all obvious. I'm not breathing or trying or finding it. It's there. So I recommend this as an integral practice, and try it and let me know what you think. All righty. So, any questions, or Corey, anything
let's see.
going on for you?
Well, let's see. It's actually an inspiring talk, Jeff, because as I told you before the call, I've been sick for the last few days.
Yeah.
And anytime I get sick, there's that sort of internal pressure that builds. It's like, man, when I'm on the other side of this, I'm going to get so healthy, And there's always like a very small window of opportunity to actualize that. It's like I've got about 48 hours after I feel better to like start a new habit.
Right.
I thought what you were saying was really interesting, and I sort of was looking at it from a couple different angles. One, I wonder if your approach here, it's a nice complement to the approach that like Rob McNamara and Sean Phillips teach, which is focused intensity practice, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like you are really almost meditating on the burn. You are bringing super laser focus to the mechanics, to the movement, to the pains and the sensations and all of that, in hopes of sort of popping you out on the other side into more of a witness consciousness.
Yeah. Well, that's just, that, if I may, it's just good. It's what you do in meditation in general. The fly lands on your face and you feel the itch, and that's don't scratch it, and you penetrate, and you find that actually an itch reveals itself to be something other than an itch.
That's right.
You get into this one taste situation where you can actually transmute pain.
Right. Yeah, totally. And what I'm wondering, Jeff, is whether there's sort of a typological or maybe just dispositional aspect to this, where there's a certain type of person for whom a more focused approach, it reminds me of, Rob Smith often says, when you're bringing the witness consciousness to the intensity of a workout, one of the common refrains that he repeats to himself is pain don't hurt. And, when he's looking at pain in the upper right versus hurt in the upper left, which is sort of, it's sort of like when Ken says, hurts more, bothers you less. There's sort of, when you bring that witness consciousness, but that can be a challenge for some people. And I'm one of those people. So what I've noticed in my workouts is, I was really into running for a while. And I was doing it, every other day, and I was getting, running was always my least favorite practice. And I got to a point in my own life, in my own sort of frustrations, that I felt like I need to conquer something I hate, something I really loathe. I need to master. And for me, that was running. And I was like, well, I'm just going to start getting out there and running. And I would play all these different kind of mind games, like you were, sort of putting on different, sort of ways of relating to the workout. And, what worked really well for a while was really aggressive music that was, sort of timed, the BPM was matching sort of my pace. And that was great. But I started trying some other things too, which was putting on, I'm really big with music, right? Music has always been sort of a big release for me. So I would try putting on more mellow music. So I would try running to like a really mellow Pink Floyd album or something like that. And what I noticed was it would take me further. I would sort of tap into this more field awareness, where my body running down the road was just one of many sensations. And it worked better for me.
Yes. Well, you broke that personal boundary.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It
softened into, more connection to the space.
It's the same thing when I'm on, our elliptical machine. If I'm looking at the time, I'll do a 20-minute workout and I'll look at the time sort of counting down. If I'm actually looking at that clock I'm in hell, right?
Mhm.
That's
Oh,
suffering. It's just
I,
like,
yeah,
because it's, you can't easily achieve that. When Ken talks about, he has this one really great pointing out instruction where one of the lines is, my consciousness is not in my body is in my consciousness. Well, there's sort of a lot of different techniques to invoke that state. And what I like about what you were talking about with the pumping water for the children and all of that was when you can either enact, I want to say this carefully, because witness never changes. Obviously, witness consciousness never changes, but there's different ways of enacting your relationship with witness consciousness. And it seems like oftentimes that focused intensity training approach is really leveraging, like you were saying, those top two quadrants.
yeah,
And what I've noticed is if I can bring in those bottom two
yes.
quadrants as well, it
You know,
enhances my relationship with witness in that moment. It's fuller, it's easier in a certain kind of sense.
totally. Yeah,
It,
I mean, that's me too. And I did the focused intensity with Rob. Rob and I worked together. He came to my house for a month
mm,
and every morning. And, waking up to Rob McNamara, I mean, what a treat. And it was fantastic. No doubt about it. It helped me a lot. And it was so consonant with my meditation training, about going towards the pain, letting it unfold and so
yep,
forth. But it still didn't do what this does
yeah,
for
yeah.
me.
So again, that's what makes me wonder. Maybe this is a typological or dispositional sort of
Yeah,
thing. Some things are going
yeah,
to work better for you, and it's here at Integral, we want to sort of get as many tools on the table for you to pick and choose and add to your toolkit as possible.
yeah. Right on.
Yeah,
All righty. Well, that's, I think, good for today.
I think so.
Yeah. And folks, thank you so much for listening. It's really fun to get your comments. By the way, you can reach me at jeff@dailyevolver.com. On my website, dailyevolver.com, is a speak pipe button where you can leave me a voicemail and I can get back to you that way. Or sometimes we use these on the show. And, uh, and of course, if you want to sign up in the fancy way where it allows you to have questions on the show live, and we have publicized that link, right, Corey?
Yep, that's right.
Then you can do that too, and just ask me a question or make a comment in real time. And again, thank you so much. Thank you, Integral Life. Become a member of Integral Life, people. It's worth it, and it's a big help, and you feel like you're part of moving this thing forward, and we need it. All right. Thanks, Corey. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
See you
Jeff.
tomorrow.